Nikudo, Weme, and Numi. Greetings to our family. We are Axosu, Agelogbagan, Bori the first of the Ganlodo Monarchy, which is a Maroon Kilombo, basically. We are an official African monarchy based on the ancient teachings of Vodun and the Bay culture of GBE of Southern Benin, which also goes through Togo and parts of Ghana and Nigeria. So we want to talk to you today about some teachings from the Ajisixwe. It is, you may see it as a book on our site, but these are ancient teachings. They were a body of teachings called Ajisixwe back in the day. And it's part of Vodun, so it's really not back in the day. And we were able to put a good majority of them in book form for you. But we want to talk here on some of the verses with some commentary. So we hope that you get something out of this and see the higher teachings of Vodun. Some terms we'll be using: Ali Tleleto, Alitleto, Alitleto. That means one who is on the narrow path, one who's on the straight path, right? It's a little difficult to pronounce, but we wanted to spell that to you so you can work on that. One is the Ninu-Tombu, Ninu-Tombu, Nuywetonbu, and that is the triple overstanding of Vodun. That triple overstanding being how one, part of the overstanding, Maulisa the creator, two, the Hun and Kalita together as another entity, and three, Besu, divine law, how the three of them come together to formulate the foundations and the fabric of the universe, which should be the fabric of our lives. Another one is Yedode, Yedode, which is the veil of illusion, that thing that eludes people, tricks them, the veil of illusion. Another term is Vonugbe, Vonugbe, that is divine grace. Maulisa, any of the deities, the elevated ancestors, they bestow Vonugbe on us. Another one is Kovonu, Kovonu, which is liberation. And that can be applied. It's primarily used for in a spiritual sense in the Ajisixwe, but of course it could be used in terms of our liberated spaces from the Kilombo perspective and the Kilombo paradigm. So let's start. So we'll say begin verse, we'll say the verse, and then we'll say end verse, and after that, when we're talking, is our commentary. After and then we'll say begin verse again for each one and end verse. Begin verse. By thinking, Segbo cannot be reduced to thought, even by thinking hundreds of thousands of times. By remaining silent, inner silence is not obtained, even by remaining lovingly absorbed deep within. End verse. The Creator cannot be intellectualized, no matter how many great theories, thinking thousands of times, as the verse says, one comes up with. Even simply remaining silent will not get it, as many who do so are waiting on something from the outside anyway. So even just meditating or just praying is not going to get it. There is work to be done. Verse 2. Many are engaged in countless clever tricks, but none of these will go along with them to bring any good in the end. So how does one become truthful? And how can the Yedode be torn away? The veil, the net of illusion. It is spoken that you will submit to and merge with the Agelogbagan, Segbo, which is the Creator's will and command, and walk in the way of the ancestral will. End verse. Spiritual parlor tricks will go really nowhere in the end. The one carrying out the tricks gathers temporary financial gain and fame at the expense of the masses and community, with no regards as it relates to the long run, or the bigger picture. The long run is caring about the overall spiritual health of self, family, and community, nation building, family development, re-Afrikanization. The injunction here is to become truthful by submitting to the will of the Creator and the ways of the elevated ancestors. Verse number 3. Allow spiritual wisdom to be your food and let compassion be your clothing. The who resonates in each and every say. According to Vodun, it is not enough to know about spirituality or to be spiritual. One is advised to have spiritual wisdom. To have such a valuable gift gives you all the tools you need for the necessities of life. It is wealth itself. This, coupled with compassion, is living with the true essence of the Creator within you. It is said in ancient Vodun teachings that the first utterance projected out into the void was Hu, H-U-U-U, by Segbo, or the Creator. It is said that this word enlivened the universe, placing it in perpetual motion. This sound also enlivens each and every of our say. That vibration is our voice, is our heartbeat, everything. The ancient primordial sound that continues to create is what many in the West have reduced to the concept of evolution. We can get on that teaching in another video. Number 4, the Wangan, which is the larger work of what the Ajisixwe comes from, gives us knowledge of the ninu, that there are 3 in 1, the originating mystery, Segbo, or Maulisa, and its whom, the Kalita, and Besu. May we never forget them. End verse. The ninu is something that cannot be forgotten in Vodun. In our tradition, one is dependent on the other, as we mentioned. This tripartite is so intertwined that the lack of any aspect, once again, with the lack of either one of those, you don't have Vodun. And one of the biggest things missing today is the Besu part, divine law. Number 5, the roles of the Ali Teleleta will never be blocked. The Ali Teleleta will depart with honor and fame. The true Vodunvi, one who is a Vodun practitioner as a way of life, do not simply follow empty rituals. The Vodunvi are firmly bound to the duty of Vodun. Such is in the name of the Immaculate Segbo. End of verse. And we told you what the word Ali Teleleta means. One who's walking on the straight path. One who is of such a cloth does not involve themselves in empty ritual. They are not satisfied with memorized rituals used for display and have no essence. No heart being put in it. Indulging in such emptiness is part of the reason that with the hundreds of rituals being done daily, hourly, there is hardly any change in the condition of the Mawufe Numeta. And that word means African person. Mawufe, Africa. Mawufe Numeta, African person. Mawufe Nu, African. Verse 6. Verse 6. When the body is dirty, water and soap wash away the filth. When clothes become soiled, water and soap can wash them clean also. But when the intellect is polluted by the lower nature, it can only be cleansed by the essence of the ninu, that triple overstanding. Virtue and degeneracy do not come by merely speaking about it. Repeated actions over and over again become embedded within the soul. The teachings tell us that we must be careful of the types of habits we engage in. Continuous indulgence of a behavior, any behavior, creates an energy, a spirit, if you will. Many are negative. Both virtue and degeneracy are rooted in one's being by repeated actions. So keep that in mind. Verse 7. The Ali Teleta find and reveal the door of Kavonu, liberation. The Ali Teleta uplift, redeem, and develop their family and relations. The Ali Teleta are saved and carried across the forest of tribulation by that which upholds the Wangan. And Wangan, that word literally means, even though that is a work you'll find on our site, and that is one of the ancient teachings in Vodun, that word means sacred preservation. It's the container of all that we do, you know. In the verse, so the ones truly on the path not only gather blessings for themselves, but they also reveal to others and assist them. Their first obligation, as this verse tells us, is to the family, as is extolled here. That which upholds the Wangan is the righteous path. So we see family development being the first thing exalted in our sacred teachings. Number 8, only one who has faith comes to know such a state of mind. The chosen ones, the divine elect, are accepted and approved. The chosen ones are honored in the royal court of the Creator. In a verse, the chosen ones are those who have an active faith. An active faith is faith first in thought and intent, then exemplified through actions. That's all a chosen one is in our tradition, not a particular ethnicity or a group. These, according to Wangan, are spiritual royalty. Spiritual royalty, those who have an active faith. Number 9, listening and believing with love and humility. Love and humility, something you don't hear much about in African traditions today. Love and humility in your mind. Cleanse yourself with the name, the sacred shrine deep within. In the verse, the quote-unquote name is in reference to the divine names of the Creator, the deities, and the elevated ancestors. Approach the shrine within self with love and humility to obtain peace and prosperity. And if you're approaching the shrine within self with love and humility, then that love and humility will turn upon those, go outward towards those that are deserving of that. Verse 10, those who are tuned to the Ninu are immaculate and pure. Through the Wangan, they obtain intuitive peace and poise. Their minds and bodies are dyed in the color of the Creator's love, and their tongues savor the sublime essence of the Ninu. That primal color which the Creator has applied will never fade away. By the Kalital's Vonube, divine grace, one becomes Ali Teleleta, worshiping them, the Creator, and the deities with devotion. In the verse. So we know what the Ninu is. We won't go into that. This is the core of the spirituality of Vodun. It is stated that those that study this tend to merge into pure minds and ways of life because the study of this essence leads to all plausible desires, including financial comfort, a concept too often overlooked, but a little bit too extensive to cover here. The reference to being dyed in the primal color with the Creator, which the Creator applied, refers to one's essence or ashiara in Yoruba, which is oral, lack of a better term, European term, that's a person's aura. Ashiara means the energy of the body. The goal, though hard in these times, is to wear the spiritual aura, ashiara, given by the Ninu to maintain balance, peace, and love in life. When the sacred text mentions something like, quote unquote, without the Wangan this and that, or through the Wangan this and that, this is in strict references to the practices and ways of life contained therein. The whole concept of Wangan, sacred preservation. Therefore, the book itself is very sacred to Vodun. We have the book, the Wangan. Its adherents, though the book is sacred, its adherents are expected to live the Wangan in the absence of the book. A key lesson we learn here is that it is by the grace of the Kulita that we become Ali Teleleta, one who takes the straight path through Vodun. Verse 11, without the contents of the Wangan, there is no purpose for devotional worship. Here, the quote-unquote contents speak for itself, but we are taken to a higher level of understanding with this simple yet powerful line. The reference here is to those who go through the motions with rote rituals and prayers without having the essence of the teachings etched in their hearts. So we see that in Vodun, the outward show of devotion must be matched by the inner content. And so when they talk about devotional worship in the phone script, if this book would have been written in phone, which we will put out a version of that as people study phone more, hint. But the word they use is dehixo, Dexixo, dehixo. And that is the act of the whole act of offering prayers, all the rituals done primarily in the home. They do it in the temple too. Dehixo is dehixo. verse 12. The Polydisa, or Odiosa, in the Yoruba tradition, and Poly means it's like Oduifa. Polypha Disa says that those who lack devotion, why have they even bothered to come into the world? They do not deserve the they do not serve the perfect Wangan. Remember what Wangan represents versus just being a book. They waste away their lives in vain. End of quote. In Vodun, it is believed that it is a waste of life to not know your destiny, to not want to know your destiny, or to know your destiny and not live or apply it. To serve spirit is a duty given to our souls before we come into the world, Aye, or Aye. In fact, we make a pact with Maulisa, pact, promise, not only to serve spirit, but to serve it in a certain way based on our individual connection to the Creator, the deities, and our blood ancestors. Verse number 13, blessed is the mother who gave birth. Blessed and respected is the father of one who serves the Wangan and finds peace. In our end quote, in verse, in our traditions, we honor and respect the parents of those amongst us who are elevating themselves. This is contrary to the Western concept of individual praise and attention seeking or giving. We give honor to that which gives birth to greatness. So we may honor the person's parents more so than that person. You know, the person will be honored, but we have to thank the person's parents, and then beyond that, we thank the person's ancestors for allowing them to be a gift to us. So, as we have mentioned about the Queen of Ganlodo, Queen Nwento, we thank her ancestors. We praise her, but we also praise her ancestors for allowing it, because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to give us such people, you know, and the good people and the other good people that are around us. And that ends the first part of the two-part series on the Ajisixwe. We will be back with part 2. I am Agelogbagan Agbavi I, His Majesty of Ganlodo Hotome, Odigbe.